Hello, friends. Welcome to another edition of TEPSA Talk. It's a production of the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. And we're here to delve into issues that are of interest to our members and to building leaders across the state. All kind of things. We do politics, we do commentary, we interview interesting people, we interview some of our legislators. All of the stuff that we want to offer commentary on issues that have educational importance to our members. I especially like the political stuff. I don't want to get into that, but we're probably going to delve in that a little bit, as today we're joined by Abigail Hawes, an elementary music teacher at Moore Elementary in Cypress Fairbanks ISD. She's also serving as the vice president of the elementary division of the Texas Music Educators Association, TMEA. So thanks for joining us, Abigail, and welcome to TEPSA Talk.
I am happy to be here, Mark, and please call me Abby.
I will call you Abby, and you can call me Mark, okay? So it's good to have you here. In fact, my grandmother's middle name was Abby, and that brings back great memories for me. So
it's a good
thanks
name.
for being here. Well, Abby, tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you came to be vice president of TMEA.
Well, absolutely. I am starting my 17th year as a proud Moore Armadillo in Cy-Fair ISD. Armadillos, right?
Like what color? What color are y'all?
Well, we are blue and gold.
Okay.
Blue and gold.
Super.
Blue and gold armadillos. That's right. Not the roadkill kind.
Yep. I got you.
And my TMEA journey actually started back in 1999 as a junior college all-state band clarinet player.
All right.
My very first convention experience, after I'd been teaching a few years, I stepped into the role of region chair for Region 27.
Gotcha.
And now I have the honor of serving on the executive board as vice president for the elementary division. It's been a ride.
Super. How big is the TMEA?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We are quite a organization. We just celebrated our 100th anniversary, and we serve over 13,000 members throughout the state. We offer professional development, sponsor the largest music educators conference in the world. Yeah, it's amazing. And most of all, we're a voice for music education before the Texas legislature and the State Board of Education.
Yep. Well, as a principal, I was a principal for, close to 25 years. Really did value my fine arts department. They offered so much to our students. But why do you believe fine arts, music in particular, is important for our students?
As a music teacher,
that's a softball, I'll tell you.
Yeah, this is a one that's very near and dear to me. Here I am sitting in my classroom, right? Mm-hmm. And something that came to mind, something I heard Dan Pink say once, that arts education truly is a fundamental and not an ornamental.
Yep.
And it's not only required that the district provide instruction to cover 100% of the defined TEKS for every level in fine arts courses. Of course, it's also required by the Objective 4, the Texas Music Education Code, that we provide a well-balanced and appropriate education for all students. And music, as you know, is such an integral part of that. Yep. Beyond that, though, it's that involvement in the arts that's been proven to have such a positive impact on our students' cognitive, social, and emotional development. At the end of the day, it's those experiences, the abilities gained in their involvement in our classes in the arts that are helping kids become those empathetic and collaborative adults that we need to shape the future of our communities.
But do your kids get out in the community?
Well, absolutely. You know, many choirs, many instrumental groups do community outreach, performing at, I know here in Cy-Fair, out at our district, our Berry Center, we have our district choral festival every year. So absolutely. And you know, it's one thing to hear me talk about it, but if you really want to get a glimpse of the impact that the arts has on our elementary kids, you should check out our TMEA advocacy videos at tmea.org. look under resources and then advocacy. Check out the one called Music Makes Me Happy. You will not regret it. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
The one thing about music and band, that as a principal, I always had to try to keep them under control when we had a concert, because if you say 2 songs, it means 8. And so it's like, I just love, but one thing I like doing better than watching the students is watching the directors, because they put on quite a performance, just getting their kids to be their best. So it's so much fun. A little point of interest, that would be the Rick Barry Fine Arts Center or Performing Arts Center.
The Barry Center, absolutely.
Yep. He hired me for my first principal's job in
Wow.
Arlington, Texas. Yeah, it was just like yesterday.
It's a small world.
Well, I know as a principal that there's a very strong correlation between math and music. And so I've always appreciated the way that my music teacher would participate in helping the kids not only meet their the TEKS with fine arts, but also math TEKS. And so I could always depend on my fine arts folks to pitch in at our school. And we'll talk about that in a bit, but it's just a real valuable part of my team. But these are really, really strange times we're in. I mean, what do you really,
again.
Yeah. So what are you hearing from your members?
Well, you're right. It is a time, isn't it? There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of changing, a lot of things happening. And just like everyone else, we're finding ourselves faced with some really, really interesting circumstances. Some of us are being told that we're losing our classrooms, that we're being told we're teaching on a cart. Some of us are going completely synchronous. Some of us are going completely asynchronous. And of course, a lot of blending of the two. But most of us, of course, all of us really are actually being asked to redesign and change our entire approach to teaching music, adapting the new curriculum, developing these sanitization procedures, minimizing the use of manipulatives and instruments. In some cases, I'm hearing of students or teachers rather that are creating instrumental kits, individual kits for each student in their campus. Yeah, it blows my mind. And then they're singing. Can we sing? Can't we sing? I mean, and luckily, haven't heard a lot of this, but luckily a lot of us aren't being reassigned rather to teaching outside of our certification areas. Then the good news there is that principals and leaders across the state are recognizing the importance of that well-rounded education, including the arts, and helping support us and providing the best, making the best of these circumstances, and hopefully temporary circumstances.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I've talked to a couple of principals across the state whose music teachers are, speaking of choir, seeking guidance on if they can have choir outside, so that your social distance, you've got the air, a lot of creative stuff going on. I like the idea of individual instruments. And I think just as to kind of help out some of our fine arts colleagues, just my daughter teaches first grade, and she did not want to be their virtual teacher. She wants to be with kids. And lo and behold, she was assigned as the virtual teacher. So I've been testing out her online classroom and the creative ideas that she's doing, but really pushing out there in an uncomfortable area for her. She'd rather be in the classroom where she's a very good teacher, but it's just different times. And I think those folks who are able to adapt, able to be creative like you're being, and like some of your members are being, those are the folks that are going to be looked at the end of this with admiration and just, hey, I'm proud to have these kind of folks on my campus. So I think that some of those ideas I really like. So
when you talk about creativity, something that came to mind for me was the image that came through a phone call. I was doing an over the phone interview, a reference check for my student teacher.
Ah.
She was my student teacher right before we left. So
Yeah.
she finished the year with me back in March, and got a phone call from an administrator in May, and got to talk with that administrator. Of course, we talked about what was happening, and she said, it's like we're building the submarine in the air.
Yep. That's
And
correct.
it's something that doesn't even belong in the air, and here we are making it. So
Yep.
that's
I
creativity
agree.
right there.
Yep, it is. It is. But what are your colleagues telling you about as they work with their principals? How they work with their principals? I mean, we got all kinds of stuff, duties, you have assignments, or some of your members, what are they saying as far as how their principals are working with them?
Well,
And you can be honest. I mean, we can be honest. There's all different kind of principals, so just give it to us.
Well, right now it's all still coming together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still sitting here in my building, and we're still figuring out those master schedules. And
Right.
so there's still a lot to cover. But I think that at whatever point we are at in the process, that just to work together, and to communicate, be mindful, and recognize that we're all that, you hear it so many times, we're all in it together. It's true. We're all facing these unusual circumstances, and it's really just through supporting each other and making these adjustments, and giving each other grace and adapting, that we're going to get there together, and we're going to get there for the kids. Right. So, music teachers really are a special breed. Mark, we're problem solvers, just like all educators, but I have a special place for music teachers, of course, in my heart. Optimistic, willing to share. Just this summer, we actually Team EA hosted a series of online Zoom sessions called Connections, and just seeing over 300 music educators coming together via Zoom. So one big Brady Bunch family, right?
Yep.
Coming together to problem solve and share with each other. And it was truly one of the highlights of my summer. And I know I'm not the only one that left just with the feeling of, this is going to be tough, but we're going to figure this out. Those are all online too. You can check them out. We recorded those.
I may have to do that.
Just overall though too, don't be afraid to reach out. We've been encouraging members, just ask for that help when you need it. Don't think you have to do it all alone, and don't be afraid to make those requests if and when the need arises for supplies or equipment that you need for these unique situations.
Yep. Well, the budgeting is coming up. It usually doesn't come up now, but it is coming up big time. And in February, we're nervous about what our budgets are going to look like, what we're going to be asked to do. I've lived through, I don't know how many major budget cuts during my career. A lot of times that falls heavily on our fine arts departments. How are you, or is TMEA preparing the fine arts folks to minimize some of that impact?
Well, as far as TMEA helping to kind of minimize that, really TMEA has historically been a voice, not just for music really, but all the fine arts in the Capitol since the 60s. For several sessions, I know that we've had success through creating and expanding a fine arts caucus at the Capitol. I know that this past session was co-chaired by House Public Education Chairman Dan Huberty and Senator Beverly Powell. And the plan right now is to grow this organization during the upcoming months and make sure the legislators are encouraged by constituents back home to join. And we know that this will be a great vehicle to communicate our goals and agenda throughout the next session. So we overall, though, just again, to minimize any possible problems that could arise, we tell our members that the greatest advocacy tool in our kit really is a program in their district that is
Right.
valued by their community,
Yep.
administration, school board, parents, and students. And it's so much harder to cut or not support a program under those circumstances.
Right. I think we'd, in an earlier conversation, we talked about being indispensable, doing those things in a school where when a principal's asked to make a major cuts, and let's be honest, the only way you make a major cut in a school budget is personnel. Because you're not going to make a significant difference in limiting everybody to one ream of paper a semester or that kind of stuff. So we talked about ways that fine arts folks make themselves indispensable. And I think you talked about a little bit about it, where you tell them, you link success in the classroom with their performances and what they learn in a music or art, all kinds of
those
band.
Connections. Yeah, the connections. And there's nothing cooler than when we'll be talking about something and something will come up in class and their hands shoot up and their eyes and Miss Tamaz just talked about that today. And I'm like, yeah. So,
well, I think I would encourage your members to make sure their principals realize those stories and hear those stories, rather than going to lounge and talking about the lounge. The principal, I know when I walk into the lounge, sometimes it's like, so I like to hear those stories. I like to hear the impact that they're having. But you're also going to be probably called upon to reduce your budget. What are some other ways you can get money that are budgeting funds besides just your budget?
Well, earlier we were talking about, and I don't know where you had said this idea came from, but I loved it. The idea of reaching out to within your feed pattern, possibly up into so you say you're the elementary school, you feed into your down the street middle school, which feeds into your down the street high school. And typically those programs, I say typically, but usually they have a band booster or choir booster kind of program. So, why not? I love that idea to get involved, especially with the vertical alignment. It happens in other places. Why can't it happen with getting building those relationships with your feeder pattern teachers anyway? They need to be coming down and seeing the elementary school anyway, right? Because we're where it starts. We are where it starts. Those kids in those rooms, hopefully the fire was lit back in kindergarten. Yep.
Well, I think that's key. I mean, I know in our district we had a very successful program because I was about 50 yards, or maybe not that far, 50 feet from our middle school, and they would come over and play for our students. They would come over and sing for our students and teach our students and keep them interested in what's coming next. And I think that's important. We also talked about things like your education foundation, PTOs, outside foundation. Like in our community, there's a art show every year. I mean, perfect way to display the kids' work and to generate funds. I mean, seriously, when it gets down to, hey, we need money or we're going to have to cut art, what are they going to do? So do y'all have things like that in Sci-Fair? I'm sure y'all do have an education foundation and where you can.
We do. And we also, we have the Sci-Hope Foundation that also helps with, and I go back to, I know they do many things for us, but through our district choral festival, which each year involves students from each of our elementary campuses. So that support is totally invaluable, and I would encourage people to look for that kind of support in their communities as well.
Yep. The legislative session. I assume TMEA has advocacy group or program. What types of things are you preparing for, or is the association preparing for as we come up to the legislative session?
Well, absolutely. I know that this goes back to kind of our strength in numbers. I know that
Yep.
we are super excited about, of course, the preliminary discussions of TMEA and TEPSA possibly working together to in this upcoming session to share our message. And it's just going to really go back to all of us in that belief that the arts are fundamental and not ornamental, and to tell our story and to remind our elected representatives of the importance of arts and the overall education of Texas school kids. This past year, I know there were over 1.9 million students enrolled in fine arts classes in middle and high school combined, and that doesn't include the students receiving our TEKS-based fine arts instruction in K through 5. And as I said earlier, it's in those classes, those elementary school classrooms, where the foundation is really laid. That's where the magic starts. So moving forward, TMEA will be working to organize and support a base of parents and businesses across the states to hopefully emphasize and forward our beliefs.
Great. We had 5.3 million students or 5.4 million students last year. I would assume that 5.4 million students were involved in some type of fine arts during their school year. So I do think that every child needs a chance for fine arts. And just to go back on a discussion we had earlier, and that is advocacy and visiting the Capitol. I don't know how that's going to work this year. I hope we get to visit our legislators, but I'll just take a minute to give some advice to music teachers out there. If you don't know who your representative is, I would immediately find out who it is for your school and for where you live. You can visit, you may not, they may be different. You can visit both. I would get together with a couple of my other fine arts folks, and I would visit his district office or her district office, get to know them, go in a friendly way. I always try to tell our members not to go with demands the first time. Go and get to know them, to share your school's story, and then you have a relationship going with that person. But we did talk about principals and teachers going to the Capitol. Last year we did a little experiment or a little work with HEPE and Raise Your Hand Texas. We had a principal and two pre-K, a first grade, second grade, somewhere around there, teacher go with the principal. And the principal goes over there, and sometimes they'll see the legislator, sometimes not. But if you take a first grade teacher or a music teacher or an art teacher, you're almost guaranteed to meet the representative or the senator. So I think that this is getting out personal opinion here. I think that that type of setting could benefit our fine arts, and it could benefit principals in schools and communities and students as well. What do you think?
I think that being visible and telling our story is so important, and putting that face and that personalization on it. What more powerful way to communicate our message?
Well, one way they can find out who there is, you go to TLO Texas. Just Google TLO Texas, and you'll find where you can go and who represents you. Just put your zip codes in there and pops up. And I would encourage that greatly. I'm kind of our lead advocate, so I'm very much into that. So fine arts, okay, fine arts, music. Any final words about what you want to share with our TEPSA members, our principals?
Well,
a lot of you, where you're going to be, you've got the voice, you got the ear of the principal right now. You could say whatever you want and go for it.
That's dangerous, Mark.
No, go, right.
No,
we hear it all the time.
Mic.
So.
No,
Open mic street.
I would be remiss if I did not say that I've been blessed throughout my teaching career to work with so many amazing administrators. I have the absolute utmost respect for all you do to serve your school communities. What an awesome responsibility. And that's even before you add a pandemic into this mix. Just absolute respect. And speaking humbly for your fine arts teachers, we are so ready to get back to providing
Amen.
those places, those spaces for your students to be sometimes the place in their day where they feel most like themselves. We're going to be so ready to get back to those before and after school choirs and instrumental groups. And we can't wait to go on being that teacher that they look forward to hugging each more, maybe not hugging yet, but you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
But thank you most of
Air
all
hug.
for, yes, air hugs and waves, right? Thanks for everything that you've done so far and will continue to do to support the arts and music in particular at our schools.
I actually have, who's your principal?
Her name is Patricia Myers.
Patricia Myers.
Proud,
tell Patricia
proud
look, I'm seeing that she's a member.
Oh, well, I have a special place in my heart. She is a former music teacher herself. So,
Excellent.
yes.
Excellent.
So
Now, I forgot one little thing I wanted to know, and one of the principals I told I was going to be interviewing you wanted to know if they have set down a protocol for if there is an outbreak or if a student or a teacher. Have they shared what the protocol is going to be yet?
No, at this time, I do know that our district, and of course it's all fluid and changing.
Sure. Oh gosh,
I know our
yes.
district has put out their Reopen Safely plan. I'm sure that's been laid out. Primarily our PD this week has focused a lot on our platform, Schoology, and today a lot of trauma-informed teaching. So I know that in the coming days, as we're preparing for students to come face-to-face on September 8th here in Cy-Fair. So as we approach, I know that those procedures and those strategies are going to be laid out. So
y'all have, are y'all doing a hybrid? Do y'all have some that are doing?
We have right now, the plans are to have some of the students, of course, have elected, or the parents have elected to keep their students at home for virtual learning. And they will have a kind of a blend going on. I know that our homeroom teachers here on campus have been told that, what their schedule will be and when they will be synchronously instructing and when they will be doing face-to-face instruction and how that will be laid out. So
have they talked about fine arts in the, like if I'm like my daughter, first grade, she's online. Have they talked about how that student is going to receive fine arts?
They have. That has been our Schoology is going to be where right now all of our curriculum for those students in the elementary fine arts. So we have art and PE. Well, we're called large group teachers here in Cy-Fair. So art, music, and PE will have content that is available to those students that is being pushed out through Schoology.
Okay, so you're not going to be singing online with them?
Well, technically, I will be singing with quite a few of them. I was part of the curriculum team to develop some of those materials over the summer. So they're stuck with my face.
I like it. Now it
was a lot of fun.
I'm just envisioning my poor mom. If I would have had this and I'm at home singing along with the teacher, but I'm all by myself, I can just visualize her like, oh my goodness. It would be sad. Well, Abby, it's been great speaking with you.
Thank you, Mark.
My prayers go to you guys, to not only our fine arts teachers, but the stress you guys are under, but also to our teachers and our principals. I've heard many sad stories so far, and we haven't even started. So my heart goes out to you, and my best wishes to you as well. And I hope to see you up at the Capitol maybe we can work something out to where we can go to the Capitol and make our voices heard. Good luck to you as you start your school year. And folks, that's another little session of TEPSA Talk. I hope to have you on our next session. We may maybe give it a little commentary to the next one, or we may be speaking to our general counsel. But thank you so much, Abby. It's great talking to you, and good luck for your school year.
Thank you, Mark.
You bet. Bye-bye. Okay.